Long-term thinking feels uncomfortable because it asks you to absorb short-term noise without reacting, and most people aren't trained for that. Thinking long-term will test your conviction, that's for sure. It's going to make you question what you're doing a lot of the time, and there's going to be a lot of volatility in the short term. It's going to feel lonely. I have this picture of a composer here because to be a leader, to do something worthwhile, I believe you have to turn your back to the crowd and focus on your own principles and values. And it's delayed gratification as well, right? In a world where there's so much instant gratification and clickbait and all this stuff, thinking long term with your principles is going to give you the most long term success. And whether that's conviction with your values, your principles, your religion, Bitcoin, right? The world is going to test you, and thinking long term will delay gratification for sure. Bitcoin is the prime example of this. People only notice when Bitcoin is down or up. You'll get texts, DMs, jokes, and congratulations like you got lucky. People act as if short-term price moves invalidate long-term principles. I see this, you get texts when Bitcoin's down or it's up. And I don't know which one's more frustrating, honestly, like being like, why is it down? What happened? Or when it goes up and people saying like you got lucky or you picked right. When I'm in Bitcoin because of its principles as sound money, right? A principle that's important to me is that I don't want to work for something that another person can print, right? That's my principle. So when people ask me if Bitcoin's down, what changed, or, are you worried about this? I can confidently respond like, has the earth stopped turning? Has gravity stopped working? Because I don't know of a better form of money, right? That's just my principle, my conviction. And of course, that conviction gets tested and dips in Bitcoin in that short-term volatility, but long-term, I'm in it for the principles. So unless someone is able to present enough information and a convincing enough argument that I'm wrong about this, then sure, maybe I'll reconsider my point. But some short-term volatility, some FUD about quantum computing isn't going to shake my conviction and what I believe is the greatest invention of humanity potentially ever. People won't text you when their savings account loses purchasing power either. They're not going to say, oh my God, what's happening? They increased the money supply by 20% and now my savings don't buy as much. That's not visible. But what is visible is Bitcoin's volatility in dollar terms going up and down. That's something people can visualize, and they get worried when it goes down and euphoric when it goes up, and they'll get shaken out eventually, likely if they don't have enough conviction. Short-term volatility will get blamed on you if you're a Bitcoiner, especially if you're a outwardly facing Bitcoiner and trying to orange pill the people around you. Even when it's a long-term thesis, people are still going to blame you if you tell them about Bitcoin and they buy it and they don't understand what they own. FUD is a constant, not a signal. So you'll see this. The themes repeat. There's always a new FUD of the month with Bitcoin. It started with money laundering. It's used by criminals. And then there was the environmental panic with mining uses all this energy. It's bad for the environment. Now it's quantum computing and association attacks and who's associated with Bitcoin. And these themes will keep repeating. They'll keep repeating in cycles, but they don't change anything fundamentally. It's just the same structure, but a different headline. And they're going to keep being recycled over and over again until everyone understands what's going on. If the fundamentals haven't changed, the fear isn't new information. That's why, I feel like it sounds crazy when someone asks me, are you worried about Bitcoin? And I say, genuinely, am I still breathing? Is the earth still rotating? Then yes, I still believe in Bitcoin. The fear this isn't new information, right? Someone releasing an article about why they think quantum computing is going to break the world, that's It's not going to change my thesis about Bitcoin. And I think that's an important level of principle to have. Like I said, whether it's a different domain, your beliefs, your values, it's important to stick to those beliefs. And again, we should always be learning, considering different viewpoints, evaluating new information when it comes up, but sticking to your principles and not being swayed by short-term noise and volatility. That's more what this is about, not just the new, trend, following trends, long-term conviction. That's what I'm getting at here. Long-term thinking requires identity, not conviction. Conviction fades, motivation fades, but identity persists. I don't need to feel right every day. I need to act consistently with what I believe. In the book Atomic Habits, he talks about the most powerful way to transform yourself, transform your habits, is by changing your identity, right? If you want to work out more, instead of viewing yourself as someone who's unhealthy and needs to work out, it's about changing your identity to someone who is passionate about health, someone who loves working out. That's the way you're going to create lasting change. With me, I'm a Bitcoiner. I believe in sound money. I believe humans should have sound money to store their time and energy, and it's as simple as that. I'm not just a trader I hope I made the right pick. I hope, Bitcoin is a good store of value in the long term. I hope. But, ultimately I'm unsure. That's the kind of thinking you want to avoid. You want to integrate your beliefs with your identity. Your principles are the anchor of all of this. Principles reduce decision fatigue. They keep you steady when opinions shift, and they let you ignore the noise without being defensive. Long-term thinking feels uncomfortable because you're not going to get the applause right away, but the things that compound usually start quietly. That's what I'm trying to build here with this channel as well. It's going to start quietly, not as many views, but I believe if I stick to it, talk every day, show up for myself, I think that will compound into other things as well. It's about not being someone whose opinions change with the wind. Your opinions, change with whatever the new news story is, the new mainstream, talking points and ideology is. If you're someone who can stand strong in your principles, you're going to be super successful. So that's about it for this video. I really appreciate the support. Leave a like, comment down below, subscribe to the channel. If you enjoyed, that helps out a ton. And as always, together, let's work, save, and build a better future with Bitcoin. See you in the next video.